watching NBS Television, your political command center, and we thank you so much for always tuning in. And now, of course, watching the breakfast meeting. My name is Mebo Twegumieza. Okay, earlier on the Morning Breeze, Mildred Tuhaise and the team were talking about the presidential candidates' manifestos. They promise a lot, always, each time it's election year. And amongst all those promises, they talk about the youth unemployment. Well, the youth in Uganda, the youngest population in the world, but also they face that challenge of unemployment. And speaking of that category of people in this country, they usually dream big. Today, the dreams may sound a bit simple, but to them it's big. It's about just getting a job. And today on the breakfast meeting, the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, this is not just a unique day or Friday, it's a unique week because they dedicated it to specifically the youth and trying to make sure that they skill them, sensitize them, and make sure they get these jobs. That may be the big dream for them. And of course, looking at the potential of oil and gas sector as it's going to contribute to the development of Uganda, it's also presenting itself many opportunities for the youth, those that are skilled, those that are professionally skilled, and even in situations where they might be unskilled. And that is why I have a special panel this morning. And on this side, I have Donald Agaba, who is the Deputy Team Leader from GIZ, from a program that specifically talks about or handles employment and skills for development in Africa. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then this side I have Musimenta Eddie Gold, Faith. She's the Senior Midstream Economist and Financial Analyst, Petroleum Authority Uganda. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, we're counting day 79 today. That is of the 90 days of oil and mining. And we do appreciate you for giving this week specifically so that we handle the youth and the challenge of unemployment. So if I start with you, who has been well-versed in terms of skilling, and right now we want to learn of the many opportunities that actually the youth can be able to exploit as we keep looking at the development phase of the oil and mining. So probably let's start from there.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks for having us today. Yeah, so I come from GIZ, from a program called Employment and Skills for Development in Africa. And it's basically an employment promotion program that partners, that's funded by the German and Norwegian governments. It's been running for the past 5 years. It started in 2015. Our first phase ended in 2019, and now we're in the second phase. And we work in very close partnership and in support of Uganda's skilling efforts, more especially on the technical level and below. And so basically the background to this program is in 2014 and 2015, there was a study run by the Ugandan government called the Capacity Needs Analysis that ended up culminating in a strategy to identify skills gaps for the oil and gas sector. And it showed that there were lots of gaps. The forecast needs were going to be quite large, and where we currently stand was significantly lower than where we need to be. So this program, funded by the Norwegian and German governments, partnered with the Ministry of Energy, with the Ministry of Education and Sports, and with the Petroleum Authority to develop capacity. And we do that through very targeted skills development projects. We also work with local enterprises. Yeah, basically, we have skilling projects. Thus far, we've had about 6 quite large projects to just train people all the way from soft skills training to quite highly technical training like welding and electrical work. It's all technician level and below because these analyses and studies that were conducted showed that that's where the greatest need and the greatest opportunities are going to be. So not necessarily, some high-level engineers or accountants or whatever, but the majority of people, particularly in the development phase when a lot of construction for infrastructure is going to be happening, that's when the most opportunities are going to be. So we've been focusing on building capacity in that area, supporting the Ministry of Energy, in the Ministry of Education to build capacity in that area. Yeah, and we've been doing that for the past few years. We've had lots of projects that I'm sure lots of people that are listening have heard about. Projects like Skills for Construction, YEEP, which is the Youth Employment Enhancement Program, and many others. Right now, we also have projects to skill drivers, and we have projects upcoming to skill heavy equipment operators and things like that. So that's kind of the background. Yeah, so we support at both the operational level, but also we're doing things like updating these studies that were conducted to show us exactly what we need. We're working with the Ministry of Energy and the Ministry of Education right now to actually update these studies so we know exactly the numbers that are going to be needed and yeah, stuff like that.
Okay.
That's basically Genesis.
Okay, so Madam Musimenta, I'll turn to you for our viewers watching right now and thinking, well, now we can actually achieve a career in oil and gas today, but where do I start?
That's an interesting question, and I'm certain that this is a dilemma some people are really going to face. So for starters, one needs to understand that the oil and gas industry is a unique industry, like you said, majorly because of the level of specialty that is required in the industry. And we can categorize the oil and gas industry into three parts. We have the upstream, which looks at exploration, development and production. Then we have the midstream, which looks at transportation of the crude oil, refinery of the crude oil, conversion of gas, and storage. And then we have the downstream that looks at the supply of petroleum products, to the market. Now, in creating a career path, you want to first of all acknowledge the part where you are at in your life at the moment. So are you at the introductory stage? Introductory stage is where you are creating a foundation for your career. Or are you at the mid-level stage where you are becoming a specialty in whatever you're doing? Or are you at the leadership stage? So depending on where you are currently, you can now start to strategize and look at, first of all, what are your strengths? From your strengths, you can identify these by looking at what were you good in school, what were you passionate about, or what have you been exposed to in terms of experience, whether it is paid or unpaid. Personally, I'll say when I was in school, I was passionate about commerce, corporate finance, and currently I have a career in financial analysis. Then secondly, you want to look what available opportunities are around. So from the available opportunities, like you said, a study was carried out by government of Uganda, and it indicated we will have about 160,000 jobs that are going to be available. Now, out of the 160,000 jobs, 70% is going to be for the technical and artisans. And one would want, in trying to figure out what are the opportunities I'm going to go into, you want to also think about, do I want to do self-employment, or do I want to be, to go the mainstream employment? If you want to run your own business, the good news is that even in running your own business, the government of Uganda ensured that there are 16 ring-fenced goods and services that Ugandans can provide to the oil and gas industry. So look at these 16. These include transport, these include hospitality. There are quite a number. So look into them and see what would I want to develop my career in. If you want to do employment, look at the available opportunities. Like we've said, they're going to range from technicians to managers. We have security. There are quite a number of these. So look at the available opportunities and try to match them to your strength. Then finally, you want to be able to now approach these opportunities. So the good thing is the Petroleum Authority of Uganda manages and developed a system. So we have the National Supplier Database. So if you have a business, you can register your business at the National Supplier Database. Now, this database will be able to show you the available opportunities, and capacity building has gone on for these businesses. Then the other one is the National Oil and Gas Talent Register. This is for people who are looking for employment. So register with that, and you'll be able to find the available opportunities, and also capacity building is going on for such individuals. Yeah.
160,000 jobs. And I liked it when you said ring-fenced for Ugandans, because that is emphasis that these jobs are specifically for you. If you've been watching the 90 Days of Oil and Mining, we've been talking about local content here, meaning that the Petroleum Authority Uganda and the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum is thinking about you specifically. And as we continue to talk about the youth and involve them, well, this week, I'll turn to you again, Mr. Agaba. Well, 160,000 jobs, you come in with the skills training, but at the same time now people could be wondering, how long does this training take place, especially she mentioned, if I'm just starting out? And then where specifically do I come to get that training, right? And then there's people that have actually been trained. Are they working already?
Yeah, those are all really important questions. So I think the most important thing to know is that there are different levels. And as was mentioned before, there are different phases during the life cycle of a petroleum project. And so arming yourself with this knowledge is really, really important. Knowing what skills will be needed when, what opportunities there are when, is really, really key. So when these studies talk about 160,000 jobs and everything, it's over the entire life cycle, and
Which
also
is like about 30.
it's about 30
years.
It's about 30 years, but also it's induced jobs, right? So not only direct jobs, not only jobs that are going to be people that are operating a refinery or a pipeline, or people that are building it or whatever. There's lots of other supplementary sectors that feed into it, and so those jobs are it's an aggregation of all of those jobs. So the reason I'm saying that it's so important to know what opportunities there are is because that will help our youth to determine where they can fit in, if they fit in, right? So the phase of the industry with the highest employment potential at the moment is during construction, and that's where we've decided to focus, and that's where the 70% of people that are more technical and things like that are going to be needed, and that's what our program in partnership with the Petroleum Authority, with the Ministry of Energy, has decided to focus skills development. So it's going to be people like heavy equipment operators, people like real construction workers, pipe fitters, welders, riggers, and things like that. And the training for all of these different trades varies very widely. So to be a welder, you might train for six months or so, but then you need to practice for a long time, get some decent experience before you actually get to a level where you can get a job as a pipe welder or something like that. But to train as a let me say a pipe fitter or something is slightly less. So there's a variation in the amount of time that you need to train. But I would say most of these trades are not, it's not years and years and years of training. Sometimes you train and then get an apprenticeship, get experience, and then you're able to get jobs in a sector like this. And also there's some jobs, I'm not saying that we train at a technical level and below because it's easy or whatever. They're also still very demanding. They're very highly skilled jobs that a lot would require international certification and certain skills to be able to perform. So my advice to the youth would be to get as much knowledge as possible on specific trades that they're trying to get into. See what the needs, what the pre-qualifications are, what the experience necessary is for these for these trades before investing a lot of time. And this is why we're updating things like the capacity needs analysis and all that. And in terms of how many people we've trained about 22,000 so far. And this is at all different levels, right? We've trained drivers, heavy truck drivers, we've trained welders, we've trained riggers, pipe fitters, all these different trades. To date, from 2015 till now, the oil and gas sector hasn't yet taken off in full swing. So what we try to do is try to place these trainees in jobs that will help them gain experience. And about 7,000 people have been placed so far in all kinds of sectors, right? And another key thing to note is transferability. When you, the youth, are looking for occupations, for trades that you can get into, is transferability is key, because there some trades which are very, very, very oil and gas specific, and others that aren't. So what we've focused on is trades that can be transferred, which is why we've been able to place people over the years. Yeah, and then I would say it's not a definite, there's no definite, right answer on training will take 6 months and then you're ready for oil and gas, or training will take 1 year or 5 years or whatever. It's more about getting the knowledge that you need in order to inform yourself of where you can fit in.
Okay, so it's no wonder that we called it skilling anyway, and a reminder that this oil and gas sector project has a lifespan of 30 years. So there's so much to be looking forward to. He mentioned a couple of things as we try to skill the youth so that they find out what kind of trade they can actually get to be able to work in this sector. You mentioned experience, qualification, and when we speak of all those things, at times when these jobs are advertised, they threaten them. Or I would say even for me, at times you get scared to apply. And let's even speak of the fresh graduates, Madam Musimenta, who probably think, okay, now can I join this sector? But at the same time, if I'm a journalist and I want to maybe transition into the oil and gas sector, how do I position myself or even strategize to make sure I can exploit in something and make something of myself in this sector?
Interesting question. Now, contrary to popular belief, there are quite a number of opportunities for fresh graduates in the market. Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't necessarily have to have experience to get a position wherever you're applying for. So companies like CNOC, Total, Vivo Energy, Schlumberger have all advertised for graduate positions. And so to all the youth that are out there, I encourage you to please be vigilant and look out for these positions. Do not be afraid to approach a company and find out if they have graduate positions available for you. Now, another thing to keep in mind to my fellow youth, first of all, you don't wait for after you've finished education for you to start gaining an experience. You can do that while you are still studying. For example, when I did my first internship when I was in my Essex VAC, I interned at a bank. Then during my second year, I also interned at a bank when I was at the second year of my undergraduate. So you don't wait for when you have finished your education for you to start. So if you are welding, if you're studying welding, you can, during the breaks, you can start to gain the experience. Do not wait till when you have finished to start to look for the experience. So keep that in mind as well. Now, in terms of building your competencies, it is important that you always focus as well on building your knowledge bank. So that means get all the qualifications that you can get. That's if you maybe if you finished, let us say, your undergraduate, get a master's. If you are in vocational school, you can also do a diploma. Try to always increase on the knowledge that you have, especially now in the oil and gas sector, because it is very specialized. Most of the things are quite specialized. Now keep that in mind as well. So you look at free online courses. Not everything actually you have to pay for it. There's so many free online courses. And now we have quite a number of organizations that are coming up and providing funds like the Skills Development Fund under the PSFU that is providing funds to Ugandans to even go up to Singapore to learn the required skill set to apply in the oil and gas sector. So look out for these funds. Or even just personally, I did my master's on a Chevening scholarship, which is a UK government scholarship. I just Googled scholarships for Ugandans and came across a scholarship that I applied for and got. So be vigilant in also trying to get available funding that can be able to enhance your knowledge bank. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's quite enlightening if you're watching right now. And as I turn to Mr. Agaba now, people are thinking, well, more training opportunities. We mentioned the 30 years lifespan. Is the program with GIZ going to
Well, it's not 30 years, but...
I had to ask. Yeah, I was good. Okay, yeah, you've already answered, but yeah, you can explore on it as we go into future 30 years from training opportunities.
It's a program that's running until 2023 in its current phase. That's a bit shorter than the 30 years, yeah. But we might, I mean, yeah, no, we should persuade them to extend the program because it's very relevant. It's running until 2023 right now. We have lots of current projects right now. We have skilling for professional drivers, for heavy equipment drivers, which is a very big need for the oil sector, but also drivers are needed, heavy goods vehicle drivers are needed across the board. So that's going on right now in Mukono. We have a tourism sector training because tourism links very much into the oil and gas sector. There's going to be lots of foreigners coming in, lots of opportunities for the hospitality sector, for hotels and things like that. So we have an upcoming training for that. We have a construction training coming up in probably the first half of next year. And this is not only heavy industrial construction, but also residential construction, because again, the trades for residential construction are very easily transferable. And then we have heavy equipment operator training that we're currently planning. So lifting equipment, cranes, forklifts, things like that. And we currently also still have, this is like soft skills, but for the types of people that like Faith is talking about, university graduates and stuff like that, who a lot of times lack the soft skills. We have a project with Absa Bank and also a couple of technical institutes. It's called Ready to Work. And then we have a pipeline of upcoming projects that are in the works. And I mean, I would say Faith was talking about these opportunities and all that, and at a very like, I wouldn't want to call it professional because that sounds like we're sort of denigrating the trades and the crafts. But our youth should really not view these technical jobs like plumbing or welding or electrical work or whatever. They shouldn't look down on them because this is where opportunities are, not only in the oil sector, but in the for our entire economy. Uganda is trying to industrialize. There's a big push. There's a lot of construction going on. There's a lot of manufacturing, lots of factories opening and things like that. And a problem with our youth is everybody wants to go and get a bachelor's degree and a master's degree and all of that. But if you look at the bottom line, what do we want? We want to be able to earn a decent living and we want to actually find a job, right? If you look at the statistics and you look at where the demand is currently right now, it's in these trades. I started out as a pipe fitter. I was a welder's apprentice. So I've been through these ranks. I used to weld and fit pipe and things like that. That's not what I'm doing now, but there was nothing wrong with that. And I was making very good money. It's given me the career that I have now, the knowledge, the technical knowledge that I need. So I don't think that we should look down on these technical trades. And even beyond the oil and gas sector, when the construction period is over or whatever, if you're a carpenter, or if you're a form fitter, or if you're heavy equipment operator, there is need for these people. You know, Rocco is always hiring, and Civitec and all of that, Civicon. So yeah, that's I would say that we focus on these trades, you know, on the hard, sort of more manual work and more technical work. But that's where it's at. Yeah.
So the Employment and Skills for Development in Africa program with GIZ, and yeah, I'll need to ask again for our viewers, the training opportunities, are they free?
Yeah, the majority of them are free. Like we're currently wrapping up a project called Skills for Construction, where we trained almost 1,600 riggers. Riggers are people that work with like cranes and lifting equipment, the guys that strap it on so it's safe to lift and plan the lifts and all that. And we also trained pipe fitters, and we trained general construction workers with a big emphasis on health and safety.
So
that was free.
Okay.
And lots of our projects are free. Some of them require a small commitment fee, so we know that people are serious, and also for long-term sustainability.
Okay.
For example, like the drivers.
So if I want to come today or even tomorrow, where do I go and how do I apply?
The application processes for each of these projects are different because we implement them in partnership with the private sector, with training companies and things like that. So I would say just follow what GIZ and E4D are doing online. And also a lot of times we have our projects listed on, like with the Petroleum Authority, with the Ministry of Energy. So just follow the sector closely. And we always also advertise. We advertise things online. We advertise them here on the news and things like that. And we always have big outreach campaigns. But if you want to learn how to drive these heavy trucks and things like that, the driving school is in Mukono. It's called Professional Driver Training Uganda. So you can actually go there. And then just keep a lookout on upcoming trainings through the Petroleum Authority website, the Ministry of Energy, and the GIZ website. And if you just do a Google search of the name of our program, you'll find all this information.
So this one is going to go both ways. He was talking about construction jobs, the welding, the pipe fitting, the driving of the heavy trucks. And you know, at times these jobs, people tend to think, oh, actually it's society that has made us feel and think that they're actually only for men. But probably in this interview, we're going to throw that away and say that if I come female and I'm interested in driving the heavy trucks, yes, I'll also get the training, right?
Definitely. The most important thing is for you to be willing to learn, and to apply. Recently, an advert went out requesting for drivers to sign up for training. So we saw quite a few females apply for such positions. But now, if an advert is out, they're not gender specific. Every single person is allowed to apply. And I encourage every single youth, whether it is plumbing, whether it's electrical technician or mechanical technician, all these very scientific or manpower jobs that are seen to be mainly for the male sector. But now I need everyone to understand that they are all available to us.
Okay. So, Mr. Agaba, as we conclude, what would be your final statement on this?
Yeah, so as we conclude, I would say expectation management. We need to understand where these opportunities are and not get overly excited, but to plan for them. I would also say that there's a large number of jobs coming up in the grand scheme of things. Nationwide, it's not like life-changing or whatever, so we need to keep an eye open for other opportunities, which is why everyone should focus on transferability. I would encourage youth not to train for something that can only be used for jobs in the oil and gas sector, but to look and see if that trade, or if even if it's not a trade, can be applied outside, and maybe focus more on that. To the government, to development partners, to training bodies, I would say we should continue to deepen our knowledge through things like updating these studies so that we know what's needed, and we can target our investment in skilling wisely so that you're not training a welder who will need 5 years of prior work experience to be able to get a job, but you're training perhaps I don't know, a rigger, an electrician or something who maybe only needs 1 year. You know what I mean? So that we target our investment wisely. And lastly, I would just say, to the youth, technical skills, vocational skills are the future. They're the present and the future. So don't look down on them. And I don't think it's a bad career path to take. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. Donald Agaba is a deputy team leader from GIZ, the German International Corporation. And then thank you so much, Madam Faith Musimenta Edigold, who is the senior economist and financial analyst from Petroleum Authority, Uganda. We were talking about employment and professional development as we look at the development phase. And of course, it's day 79 of the 90 days of oil and mining. This week, they dedicated it to the youth. Well, my name is Mebo Chegumiezake. When we return, we're still talking about those big dreams that you want to actually achieve away from just a job to probably even more. You're still watching The Breakfast Meeting here on NBS, your political command center.